I have two words for you: predator drones. You will never see it coming.
Studies by independent international experts suggest that for every militant killed, as many as 15 civilians also die. There's no way of getting exact numbers. The CIA keeps its drones program under wraps. But the United Nations and other international organizations question the legality of the extensive use of the weapon.
It becomes different when you come to a sort of undeclared war with organizations which like Al-Qaeda or the Taliban, and you go after persons, you say we say they are terrorists, but who has proved that the persons you're actually targeting are the terrorists?
The market is expected to grow to a staggering $55 billion in 10 years from now.
With the advances in technology, they depersonalize warfare, and so therefore you have people more willing to use them, and you have people that don't understand the consequences, because the people who are flying the drones are not on the battlefield, they're not in the plane, they're thousands of miles away, and when they cause destruction, they don't feel it.
The question many ask is, if it is so easy and convenient, will the powers be tempted to wage more wars in the future?
Joining me now is Richard Haas, president of the Council on Foreign Relations. Thanks for joining us this morning. I want to ask you about your article. You wrote, "The war being waged by the U.S. in Afghanistan today is fundamentally different and more ambitious than anything carried out by the Bush administration." And you went on to say that Afghanistan is very much Barack Obama's war of choice. And you used that language because GOP Chairman Michael Steele took a lot of heat for saying that. Explain how it is the president's war of choice.
The war in Afghanistan that the Bush administration fought was quite narrow and quite modest. It really was just counterterrorism. They were not getting into, say, state building or nation building in any big way. The Obama administration came in. They've now tripled U.S. force levels, and they are doing something very ambitious. They want to build a strong Afghanistan state, a large police, a large national military, and not only are they targeting terrorists, of which Leon Panetta, the head of the CIA, said there's only between 50 and 100, but they are going after the Taliban. And the Taliban, maybe 30, 40,000 of them, they are going after them, and this represents, to some extent, half the population of Afghanistan, because the Taliban share the same ethnicity, they're Pashtuns, as half the population of Afghanistan. So Mr. Obama has essentially made the United States now a central participant in Afghanistan's civil war.
When President Obama took over, I mean, Afghanistan was quickly deteriorating.
Right.
And part of his campaign rhetoric was, listen, we're in the wrong place right now. You know, we should be focusing and finishing the job in Afghanistan. Did he at that point truly have a choice, or really were the cards already dealt that he had to put more troops in there and he had to double down on Afghanistan?
He did not have to double down. We could have done in Afghanistan essentially what we're doing in places like Yemen and Somalia. We don't have 100,000 troops in those countries. We could have very few special forces there. We could target those terrorists or people who are supporting terrorists with drones, cruise missiles, special forces, essentially a very modest counterterrorism strategy rather than a very ambitious counterinsurgency or state-building strategy.
Right. So this sounds like what Vice President Biden was advocating for as well. And you had talked about some of the options, you laid them out. So number one you talked about was stay the course. Keep doing what we're doing to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars when the public appetite right now is certainly not for more spending.
You're exactly right. It's a sponge for American resources, and it's a distraction. We ought to be thinking militarily about what we might have to do in North Korea or Iran, where we really do have vital national interests. I don't think Afghanistan's worth it.
You also lay out another unlikely scenario, though, which is to pull out completely. Right. We can't do that.
I don't think well, you could do it. I don't think we should do it. We do have interest there. We do have a counterterrorism interest. We do have a degree of commitment to simply walk away. The other extreme from staying the course, I think, would raise too many questions about American commitment and how trustworthy we are.
Well, it's interesting because those questions are already there when you watch some of the documentary producing that's been done with Afghanistan. Tribal elders there don't believe, regardless of what the American commanders on the ground tell them, that we're really staying. Yeah. So they don't know if they can trust us because they think that we're going to leave and the Taliban's going to come kill them.
Well, they may have a point. On the other hand, if we wanted to stay forever, we're not going to be welcome forever. Let's not kid ourselves. Afghanistan has a strong nationalist tradition. So we are really caught there, which again is why I think we ought to come up with something that we could stay for a while, but much smaller footprint.
So you talk about partitioning, a new type of partitioning, decentralizing and giving the power to these individual areas. How would that work?
I have two ideas. I'll let others decide whether they're big. One is decentralization. Rather than pouring all of our resources through the central government, instead find local leaders, work with them, provide arms to them, Essentially, if they're going to work with us, if they're going to reject terrorism, okay, then we could work with them. We could provide arms, training, economic aid. Secondly, rather than assume if and when the Taliban come back that they're going to bring back al-Qaeda, I don't. Why don't we talk to the Taliban? I think we have to be very careful about how we use the American military instrument, and we have to use other tools of foreign policy to try to influence the trajectory of Afghan society.
Well, it's certainly a thought-provoking article, and thanks for coming in to talk about it.
Thanks for having me.
Haas, President of the Council on Foreign Relations.
Here's a comparison of the KIAs, our men and women getting killed over there last year in April, May, and June. You can see how the numbers have gone up in each case and each month, the last 3 months of this year, all higher than the parallel numbers last year. Does that tell you that we're being more aggressive on the ground, or does it mean our position is deteriorating?
Well, there's more troops in there. There is a surge that's been going on, but it also raises questions about whether a military solution is possible in Afghanistan, and I think that is what Congress eventually is going to have to decide, whether we give another $30 billion to keep this war going on and on and on, or whether we finally say, look, there is no military solution. We have to do this another way. Well, we have to first recognize that, Afghanistan has never had a Western-style democracy, and it's not going to. It's an Islamic country. We need to prepare for an Islamic government in Afghanistan. We cannot impose our way of life on the people there. We need to see that there should be a UN panel that would oversee the safe disposition of Afghans' mineral resources, which now are being talked about being in excess of $1 trillion. We're going to eventually have to get out of there, and we need to make sure that the people of Afghanistan who live in abject poverty are going to have an opportunity to be able to enjoy the fruits of their own resources and not be continued to be exploited, as happens so often in nations that are under occupation.
Let's talk about the politics over there, because as you're suggesting, it's more important than the battlefront. Back in '63, when we started to get in real trouble in Vietnam, the Kennedy administration began to suspect that Diem, our ally over there, the president of South Vietnam, he wasn't elected, but he was the president, was engaged in secret talks through the French with the North Vietnamese to possibly cut a separate peace. That may have had something to do with our decision to support a coup over there, which eventually overthrew him and killed him. Now the question is, what's our relationship with Karzai? We're getting words in our major press now, Congressman, that Karzai is thinking of a separate peace with the Taliban. What's that tell you about where we're headed?
Well, it's very interesting when you see how Karzai was so celebrated in the United States a month ago that he was actually brought to the floor of the United States Senate, almost unprecedented, at the same time that we learn of these vast mineral deposits, and now it's being talked about. Karzai is capable of cutting a separate deal with the Taliban, but the question is, what does the Taliban need him for? The fact of the matter is the Karzai family has been excelling at theft. Stealing from the people of Afghanistan, building, he and his cronies, not President Karzai personally, but President Karzai's family members and their cronies, building villas in Dubai, taking the wealth of the nation out of there, all the while a war is going on. Look, I don't think there's any confidence that Karzai is going to be able to deliver a Western-style democracy anywhere in the United States, in Congress, and I don't think the confidence is likely to be in Afghanistan. I think that the Taliban eventually are going to have to be dealt with, and the sooner we understand that, the better we're going to be.
Well, the scary thing is we're in there alone. We don't really trust Karzai. The Pakistani, apparently, the people of Pakistan, whatever the government thinks, the people of Pakistan like the Taliban, right? They're all together. They suspect Karzai is an Indian agent. And then we're sitting in there trying to defend a guy they think, the Pakistanis and the Pashtuns all think is an Indian agent, right? It's so strange, this situation for our soldiers.
Our troops are meeting enemies on all sides. And let me tell you how bad it is, Chris. There's an investigation going on right now about whether or not contractors are hiring insurgents to either attack or not attack our troops as would best befit the interests of those contractors. This is an untenable situation, intolerable situation for the men and women who wear the U.S. uniform, who are doing everything they can to defend this country's interests. But why aren't we defending them? Why aren't we looking at the situation saying, look, there is no military solution. Let's plan an exit right now.